Okay, so here's the bow. I know I haven't talked about the bow in a long time. I ended up doing a lot of work off camera, spread out through a few weeks and a few days. It's pretty much relatively done. Tiller-wise, there's a few spots that I need to go over and just kind of thin down. And a few spots I messed up at and made it a little too thin, but it's still, like you can kind of see, like that's a little too thin. I'll put my pinky up for reference, which it's like getting pretty close to being too thin, and then usually you want the thinnest spot to be the same over here, but the other side's pretty good, just not that side. Over here though, I didn't mess up at all, and I kept it relatively uniform, so it's going to be small little details. On the handle, I had to leave some room for these knots because it started getting a little too close, and then I kind of got this file down. I can see some file marks, but if I wanted to, I could just sand that out, or just file it, or just, make it a little bit more level. But overall, it's pretty good. I think I ended up mismeasuring, or some of the marks came off. So I need to cut, I believe I need to cut off about that much from this tip to match up for this twisted one. But before I go ahead and do that, I want to make sure, I'm going to try to sand this down a little bit to get it a little bit more thin around this knot. And then I'm going to boil some water and put this over it with the back facing under the hot steam. And then from there, I'm going to twist this and try to get this straight. And then maybe add a little bit of reflex into it, make it a little bit, prevent some, what's the term? I can't remember the term, but the bow will start going backwards. But yeah, this is the bow. I took off the bark last week. It's turned out to be a nice, pretty little bow. I wish it wasn't cracking in those areas. But like I said, after I get it steamed and kind of finish tillering, I'm going to add some epoxy or wood glue and clamp it, and then let it do its thing for a few days, and then come back to it and maybe add some linseed oil and try to shoot it. And I decided actually I'm going to take off some wood with my file and just flatten out some areas real quick. Now I'm going to flip it over and kind of do some of these other ones. All right, for boiling and straightening, I'm just gonna use the regular aluminum pot. I don't know how many liters or quarts this is, but you kind of get the idea. I'm gonna fill it up about halfway, and okay, like I said, we're gonna fill it up halfway, and then once it gets a rolling boil, we're gonna put the area of the bow over this pot, and then we're gonna cover that with some tin foil and just let it kind of do its thing for about 30 minutes to an hour. From there, I feel like it's good enough, but it depends on how pliable you want it. So this is the super high-tech way I'm letting my bow straighten out. A cheese grater holding it over a pot, and it's resting on the pot. And like I said, I'm gonna cover it with tin foil, which helps trap in that the heat and the steam and the moisture. The reason you could also use, if it's a properly seasoned stave, you can also use dry heat and just bend it. Tribes in Africa, I've seen them use fire to use the fire, which has the heat element, and then they kind of dry straighten it. It's kind of, if you do it that way, it can make your bow more prone to crack, but this way is kind of more safe. It's gonna put some moisture back in the wood, but if you just let it sit out and don't put anything on it, it'll all that moisture will leave and naturally on its own. It's been about 10-20 minutes, and you can see the water entering. Oh, that steam's hot. You see the water entering through the wood and condensation building up and dripping. So yeah, be careful with that steam because it is hot. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes, so I'm gonna carefully take off this aluminum foil. Pull the aluminum foil close to you to remove, so that the steam doesn't burn your hands. And then I'm gonna take this guy off, and the wood's gonna be very hot, so you wanna get some insulation between you and it. So for me, I'm gonna use some oven mitts and then a towel as well, just in case it's wet. So what I'm gonna hope happen is, it doesn't really look like it's wet, but let me try to, so I'm gonna try to, it's actually not as hot as I thought it would be, but I'm just gonna bend it on the ground. I'm gonna flip the camera while it's still hot. So I'm gonna show you what I'm doing. So I'm kind of just, you can see it's kind of getting straighter, but no cigar. Okay, it's been about an hour, 30 minutes since the last run of things. And we're gonna try to get this twist out. Like I said, still doing this. If it doesn't work after this, I'll have to try again another day. It's getting a little late. And it is kind of straightening out. I don't know if you can see. It's still got a slight bend, but it is kind of straightening out. I got it. I think that's going to be the best that I can get. It should still line up. It's just going to bend weird when I tiller. Yeah. It's got a character. Both got a lot of character. But yeah. and that crack's gonna be kind of bad after the steam. So it's just expanded because the moisture. So we'll pour some in, and it should be okay for the most part. It might splinter out eventually though. So this is definitely isn't a permanent bill. But yeah, we'll continue this tomorrow. Okay, so it's the next day. Don't mind the noise, I'm doing some laundry in the background. This is the bow. Like I said, the twist is slightly better. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's slightly better. Let's go from the very end. And you can kind of see it still kind of twists out, but it doesn't really matter as long as that center line is still good. When I was bending it with the steam, it did make the crack a little bit worse. As you can see, it got a little bit deeper. What I'm gonna do to mediate this is I'm going to fill it with some Tight Bond 3 and clamp it down with some clamps. Here's the clamps I just bought. There's just regular Harbor Freight clamps, and there's the Tight Bond. So we're gonna do that and then try to see if I can salvage it. And then I'm also going to cut off the excess, remeasure and cut off the excess to make each side of the bow equal length. Okay, so I'm going to remeasure, and in the middle roughly about 31, and then from this end it's about 33. So like I said, I messed up somewhere along the way. You know what they always say, measure twice, cut once. So for some reason my phone turned off the video, but I just cut off this piece with a hacksaw, and I can't find the piece now. Oh, it's on the floor. So I'm mad that you guys didn't get to see that in all its ASMR glory, but the bow is now equal length, and all I And I'm just getting that top part started. I like to round them off, which means you just end up taking more from the edge, but it takes a little bit. I just like the rounded edge. But like I said, I'm using the Type Bond, and we're just gonna carefully, I'm gonna use the curl to kind of, or one of these old wood curls to kind of brush it in and brush it off, and I have some extra towels. Oh, it's a little too loose. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to keep adding it until it kind of just stops absorbing in, and with hopes that it'll lock into place, and with these clamps it'll really keep it tight. It'll take 24 hours for it to fully cure, but let me tell you, just from me getting it on my skin already, it's pretty sticky. Okay, this is the full setup now. I got 4 clamps on it, as tight as I could. Kept filling until the cracks kind of got bad. This was a bad crack. I didn't realize it split like that as I was working on it. It wasn't like that when I first started, so this wood was just a bad stave. It's one of the biggest lessons of this is be careful. Don't take any stave. Make sure you get one that's worth your time. But yeah, and I'm filling up all these voids and cracks. I think it'll still shoot and it'll be good. It's just not going to be a bow that you have and cherish for generations or decades, you know, whatever. This bow is definitely just it's another practice bow. But yeah, it's starting to turn out. It looks more bowish, and we're almost done. We're almost done with the progress, guys. We just got a few more steps, and then linseed oil, and it's ready to shoot. Okay, this is the glue job. It seemed to do okay. It held up. This is the not bad side. And then this is the bad side that was clamped. It seemed to held up okay. We still got to do a tiller, and that will be the real judgment. I have this little tillering stick that I tried to make with some, you know, like bare minimum tools, and I couldn't really do it. I didn't. You really need a chisel to make this, and it doesn't work on my little setup I have for my my vise because it hits this vent. I didn't think of that when I drilled the hole for that. So this is too long. If I cut this bottom few inches off, I could probably get it, but it's not a big deal. You don't really need one of these or to hang it on a wall to get it done. You can just floor tiller, or I like to just have a mirror and step on the bow and then pull it. You can use a string and pull it up, and you'll see. I think that's the way I'm gonna do it. But right now I want to show you guys me putting the string nocks on this. So obviously it's going to be coming down on these sides. You don't really have to do it. You just want to keep it relatively consistent. So I measure, you know, about a half inch down, and then you just kind of do a zigzag. It doesn't have to be exact. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do it. Some people like to measure, some people don't. I just do it just for consistency. So I'll put the camera down and I'll show that. Okay, so this face towards you is the back of the bow. So I'm going to measure about the top, like I said, about a quarter down. That's gonna be my first mark. So use this real quick, and then it's gonna be the first mark. You can go a little bit lower if you want, but that's just where I'm gonna go. I might go a little bit lower actually. I might go down to about 3/8. Yeah, 3/8. I personally just like to eyeball this and just draw a line and then measure the hole distance, but it's about a ½ inch difference. Yeah, and that's all I do. So we'll flip it over and continue on all these different sides. Anyways, I'm gonna start filing these marks with this little chainsaw file that I got at a garage sale. Keep an eye out for these little files when you go at garage sales. They're very useful, especially if you're into building bows. Otherwise, you could probably pick one up somewhere. I'm not sure where, probably one of the big box stores, but you just kind of just start at an angle, kind of start filing, and you continue on. So I'm gonna put you guys down around here, and we'll begin. And this is something you want to be patient on. I used to rush this, and it's just not something you rush, because it's easy to mess up, and all of a sudden you're way too deep, or they're way too wide, or they're off. You know, the other side's not lined up perfectly with the other one, and it just kind of takes away from the build. And with this specific build, there's already enough mistakes. So I want to try to keep it in good standing for the rest of the process. You do want to round those edges a little bit. You can use that. You can use sandpaper. You can use the kind of some soft files, just so that when the string's actually on there, it's not kind of getting cut by those sharp edges of the wood. And I personally, right now, for depth, I'm just trying to go about as thick as this file, which is about a little, probably like a little under a quarter of an inch, maybe between a 1/8 and a quarter of an inch, just till it's flush with the wood. here's the finished product. And then right here, and like he said, you can see the mess up and that, but we'll make it work. So now I got the string knocked kind of filed in, and now I got my tillering string, which I'm not going to cover in this video, but I will make a different video on how to make, you can make your own. But right now I'm doing a floor tillering, which, like I said, you can use a mirror, and I like to stand on the handle and kind of from the middle, like start slowly, like not with full force, just kind of picking it up and seeing where it bends and where it's not bending. So for me, I can tell that on this side, it's not bending right here really, and then down here at all. So I need to get a pencil, mark right here, mark right there, and then a little bit right here, and a little bit down here. So we got a little bit ways to go, and you want it to all be bending equally. Okay, so after using the tiller string, all these marked areas are where I'm not seeing a lot of bending, so I'm going to start removing a little bit of material with the dull side of this file until it starts removing this, and this is all gone. And then from these sides to here to a bit up here, and you just want it to bend evenly. It should be pretty self-explanatory. I took a lot of time filing, but I'm not going to show you guys this because it is a more tedious process. Take your time with this. You do not want to mess up your bow at this stage. It's very frustrating. So just, take your time, put on some music, whatever, like I'm about to do. Yeah, I'll show you what it looks like when I get it to a point where I feel like it's complete enough. And like I said, this is not going to be a perfect bow. I knew that about halfway through. It's kind of a bummer, but there'll be more videos in the future. So like I said, I'm still learning as I go, and I'm still amateur. I'm just showing you guys, trying to inspire someone to maybe just try, and it's okay to mess up because there's a lot of safety measures you can put in front of yourself, and it's not going to be the end of the world if you mess up. So yep, I'll check back in with you guys in a little bit. Okay, so here is the bow. I've been taking my time tillering. It's taking about another 30 minutes to an hour, and I'm going to show you what it should look like. So with the knot on the front, I have to balance it kind of, and you see that? It's kind of cracking. Not looking good, guys. It's from these knots, but it's bending. Oh. Scared myself. Thought it was gonna crack. But yeah, this one might be not one you want to shoot every day because it might explode in your face. But yeah, we're gonna finish it up. I'm gonna put a real string on it, maybe, if I feel like it's safe. And then I'm gonna get some linseed oil and add it to the collection. Like I said, not my best work, but it still could shoot. I think this would shoot and kill something 100%. It's pretty heavy bow. I will use, when I put a string on it, I'll use a fishing weight or fishing scale and pull it back and see how far it goes at about 29 or 30 inch draw. And I'm predicting it's gonna be above 50 pounds. So, yep, stay tuned for that.